Chapter 22. Well, 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 Slugger, Big D said. Our paths cross again. Is he pleased to see us, D? Lance said, following behind. Funny, he's got his clothes on this time. Lance swayed into their room and paused suddenly. Jesus, he said. Did something die in here or what? He kicked through dirty clothes on the floor. What a pigsty. He went through the double doors, looking at John and Andrew, picking up cigarette ends and staring at them. This is filth, he said. Pure filth. Anders and Big D joined them. Stand over there, Lance said, pushing Anders. Out of my way. He positioned Anders underneath the tree and told him to stay there. John and Andrew turned in their chairs, staring at him. Big D laughed in the doorway, and Lance kept circling the table like a predator stalking its prey. He picked up coffee mugs. He sniffed his fingers. He took a smoked cigarette and sniffed that too. Such filth, he said, kicking beer cans. That's what this is. I got this, Lance, Big D said, pulling a chair into the doorway, turning it, straddling it, with his legs either side. You can relax. What's going on? John asked. Lance kicked a can and stood over him. We ask the questions, he said, dropping the cigarette into John's coffee. We ask the questions. Okay, Lance, B said. I got this. Make us start then, D, Lance said. This place stinks. I don't want to be here any longer than necessary. He stood behind John's chair, holding his shoulders. I'll jump right to it then, Big D said. He was reported in town yesterday. Was he? John said, taking the cigarette from his coffee. And who is he? But before John could say any more, Lance began yelling. We, he said, kicking the chair. We ask the questions. Kick, kick. We ask the questions. He was face to face with John, spitting as he spoke, feet parted, body stooped. Big fella, he said, sounding like a drill sergeant. Big fella, don't ask the questions. He pinched John's ear with his fingers until John nodded. Continue, D, he then said. I think he understands now. He was reported yesterday, Big D continued, but we've struggled to locate him. We know he's a dangerous man. He's wanted in Adelaide for some nasty stuff. That's right, Lance said. We're dealing with a bad kitty. Thing is, Big D said, this sick bastard crossed state lines some weeks back now, and those dickfaces in the south, well, they lost track of him. He's in our town now. He's my problem. And mine, Lance said, brushing past John, dipping a finger into his coffee. The bastard's killed a prostitute. He walked the balcony, staring at John. Can you believe that? He asked, but John didn't answer. He killed a bathroom attendant too in a nightclub in Sydney, Lance said, noticing another cigarette end. He added it to John's coffee. The attendant, this dumbass, offers him some aftershave and reaches out, missing his neck, spraying the madman's face with Dior Sauvage. He paused again, feeling his shirt pockets with his fingers, as though checking for something. Dior Sauvage, he said again. Was more like Dior Savage, Big D said. After the madman had finished with him, he then produced a photograph on the table. We think he killed Dickie too. He tapped the photograph with his finger. The murder fits the madman's profile. The stranglehold, the nakedness, the 50-cent coin wedged between the victim's arse cheeks. Don't ask why, we don't know, and neither do the psychologists. But it all draws us to him. These things he does, they're his trademark, his calling card if you will. All typical of the madman. Madman Garrison, that's for sure. That's right, Lance said. It's textbook madman. Though he only does the coin trick with male victims. Apart from that, the patterns are identical. And patterns are what brought us to you. He pointed towards Andrew. You, ginger one. Witnesses saw him here, Big D said, taking over. With you and some hippie type. Well, Andrew said, moving in his chair. What do you want to know? We ask the questions, Lance reminded. First, confirm this is the man you were drinking with. Big D tapped the photograph again. That's Steve, Andrew said, leaning over the picture. No, Lance said. That's the madman. Gary the Madman Garrison. Well, he looks like Steve to me, Andrew said. He told me his name was Steve, and that's the same guy. That's Steve. Anders came to the table. He picked up the picture and studied it, recognising the Ned Kelly t-shirt, and apart from some hairs on his head and the younger-looking clean-shaven face, it was, Anders thought, most definitely Steve, or the madman rather. He probably gave a fake name, Big D said, taking the photo. It's another trait of his. He used the name Bert while he was in Brisbane, so it's not uncommon. Yeah, Lentz said. We heard he fakes it, picks the names of his favourite actors. You know, Burt Young, Steven Seagal. I get it, Andrew said, cutting him off. Look, we had a few beers together, and that was that. That was it. Make a habit of hanging out with criminals, do we? Lance smirked, holding John's chair but staring at Anders. How was I to know? Andrew said. Maybe you and your boys should be more careful when letting psycho killers into your town. Lance drew his baton. Move, he said to John, or I'll take your head off. John got up instantly and stood beside Anders. They're getting me agitated, D. It's okay, Big D said. Relax. I don't like to be insulted though, not while doing my duty. Big D smiled, facing Andrew. What my partner means about hanging with criminals is... He paused, lowered his aviators, looked at Anders. Well, first there's the madman, your drinking buddy, and now you're here with him, and after yesterday, we all know what he's capable of. Patterns, Lance said, touching John's cheek with the baton. That's what I'm suggesting. A murderer and a flasher don't look good in our town, Big D added. You get the picture, yes? I wouldn't call Anders a criminal, Andrew said. Lance turned around laughing. I reckon that hot piece of tail he flashed yesterday would disagree with that statement, he said. I reckon she'd debate that. Get off Anders' case, Andrew said. I thought this was about Steve or Gary or the madman or whatever the fuck you keep calling him. Hold that tongue, fella, Lance said. Hold it steady. But he was already naked, Andrew said. How can you flash someone if you're already naked? People like that wear long coats and stuff. Lance was laughing again. He showed green teeth. His thinning hair became damp with sweat. Wow, he said. Wow, he's done a real job on him. Got him wrapped around his finger. He turned to Anders. You're a regular manipulative piece of shit, and don't dare deny it. I'll smash you if you deny it. Anders closed his eyes and said nothing. You with me, D, or what? Settle, Lance, Big D said. Can you settle for me? That, Lance said, is easier said than done. He sniffed up. He felt his shirt pockets again. I don't appreciate the smug look on Wormboy's face right now. Ginger keeps pushing back, and well, as for big fella, just look at him. He looks ready to tango with me. He sniffed again. Maybe it's time for my hit, he said, sniffing. That's probably a good idea, Big D said. Take it and wait in the corridor for me. Yeah, okay, Lance said, holding his baton. You got this, D. Big fella will certainly comply. He showed John the baton. He's a fast learner, he laughed. I don't think he wants to tango anymore. Later, in the darkness, Anders tossed and turned under its covers, annoyed with himself for saying nothing about Steve being there that morning or the scratch marks or the LSD incident. He had just stayed silent, standing there, realising to himself that his theory was coming true, that Dickie really had been killed, right here in their room. The scratch marks made sense now, especially when Big D mentioned the trademark stranglehold. This whole room is a crime scene, he thought. I should have said something. He began to sweat. He kicked back his covers, flipping his pillow over. Hot side, cold side, hot side, cold side. Nothing worked. His mind raced with thoughts about Steve. The madman is out there. He climbed out of bed looking for a towel, listening enviously to John and Andrew's snoring, then leaving the room, heading down the corridor for a cold shower.